Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. Thank you for joining us, and thank you if you are watching it on replay. We love to hear from you in the comments if you're on replay. And obviously, if you're in the chat, we really love to hear from you too. So I'm guessing if you're here, you're somewhat interested in either us or K-pop. Hopefully both. So thank you so much for joining me tonight, Jennifer.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes, me too. So we have each really had a 2022 that is like taken over by K-pop, and we read a lot of things because of that that were like Korean, like translated works or things that K-pop idols had recommended, and I can trace back a lot of the things on my TBR this year to that.
Me too.
So, do you think we should just like trade off talking about things that we read? Would that format work?
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds good. Because
Okay.
we read some of the same things,
Yes, we did.
but we deviated.
Yes, and we had different thoughts on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if there's one where we both read it, we can talk about our differences. So let's see. Why don't you start? Because I think you probably have more.
Okay, I wrote a little list.
Yes.
I think the first thing that I read this year that I read because of K-pop was Demian by Hermann Hesse. And I read that because not necessarily that somebody had recommended it, but that BTS based one of their music videos around it, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So in a way, I guess they recommended it. Why else would you base it, a concept around that? But
Yes.
that to me, like, we started off strong, and that's still the highest point for me. That is my favorite book of the year. I'm so thankful to BTS for introducing me to Hermann Hesse, but specifically to Demian.
Yeah. That's pretty big, getting your book of the year from them. So I also read Demian.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know you felt, I don't know that you felt differently about it, but like there were so many interesting concepts in Demian that I wanted to hear your opinion about. And I know you're like a concept argument based reader. And if you don't agree, you sometimes struggle. So I was interested in your thoughts on Demian.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I really feel like, but I feel like with him, I felt like he was making a point, but it's not like I knew that point the whole way through, and it was like really obnoxious because I disagreed. Like, it was a journey for sure reading Demian. I feel like he was taking a journey with his characters and really taking you along with him. And so for that reason, I found it extremely accessible and very enjoyable, and I just got sucked into it, which I think was what you felt too.
Mm-hmm. It was very accessible. That's what shocked me. I thought it was going to be very dense and very hard to read, but it wasn't. And it was fun to compare it to the music video. That kind of kept me reading, trying to figure out like what they were referencing.
Yes, that made it especially fun. It really enriched the music video and the song and vice versa. Yeah, because they had a lot of like the angel imagery and like demon sort of references in the music video. And I really loved the theory that you had come up with about Demian potentially being a demon. And the name just really suggests that. So I just had so much fun with that reference while I was reading.
I did too. I think that was my biggest success of the year. Like, not even if I hadn't liked it, I feel like we had so much discussion about it. Mm-hmm. And so many people commented on our videos having discussions with us about the meaning of the book. Like, I got so much out of the experience of reading it.
Yes. That is so true. That's been one of my most popular videos of the year was my review of it, and I still get comments all the time. Sometimes very argumentative, which is totally fine. Like you could share your opinion and disagree with me. That I asked people to do that, and they certainly took me up on that. Apparently, I completely misinterpreted it, but anyways, whatever. Let's say hello. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Yes, I know. I'm so surprised you're here. You're such a kind supporter, coming so late.
And a night owl, apparently.
Yes, that is so exciting. One of the best things he read this year.
Amen, Tony.
Yay. Well, now you'll have to go watch the music video, Tony. Tell us what you think of it.
Yes, it's a very interesting adaptation.
Yes, it really is. I should write like a banner of. Oh my gosh! I knew that was gonna happen. I plugged in my light up here, and the cord is like right. It's stretching across me.
Yeah.
I just know I'm gonna knock it over. Goodness gracious. Okay, let's do like a banner for this. Demon. Blood, sweat, and tears. Okay, cool. There it is. Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video. One of their best, honestly.
Yes, gorgeous.
Yes. I feel like it's so appropriate that we're starting with BTS because that's really where both of us began with K-pop. And RM was the first reader that I think a lot of people have this experience where they're like, what has RM read and recommended? Because he is so brilliant and everybody wants to pick his brain. And he has recommended a lot of books. And he's posted tons of pictures of his bookshelves. So there's just so much content that can be drawn from RM's brain. He just puts it all out there as far as reading and stuff. It's really wonderful. Let's see. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
That I feel like that would really enrich it even more because I didn't really go down the rabbit hole. I just discovered that that's what he was talking about to some degree, and definitely some like Eastern mysticism type stuff.
Yeah.
That's at least drawn from his personal life. You know, I don't really know how to interpret that personally because I haven't explored that at all, but I just know that he was really interested in those things. And so I think that this book was like, I'm trying to think of another book that's similar, but it's supposed to be sort of drawing people into that line of thought, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Idea.
You made it.
Yes, you made it. Hooray. And Tony will watch the video. That's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for the next one, why don't we look at... So I read quite a few things that kind of like this, like Demon, where I was just interested in more Korean things in general because of my interest in K-pop. So it wasn't always a direct recommendation or even directly from a music video, but just like reading more Korean translated authors or things by Korean Americans and stuff like that. So I have some of that to get into later, but I figure we should probably start with the more directly related things. So let's go with Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. This is a Japanese work, and this was recommended by RM. This one's one of the more common ones that you'll find if you just look for RM's recommendations. That's one that he was talking about reading it in one interview. And so I know that she's really popular for her short stories, and this was more of a novella. And I thought it was very beautiful. And when I was reading it, I kept thinking, okay, I must be missing so much because this is so easy to read. And RM's books are generally very like heady, you know. But this one was just like sweet, you know, just reading it was just like, oh, that's sweet. And it touches a lot on grief and the power of food to bring people together. And I just remember there's this one scene where two of the characters are they're complaining about a restaurant that will only serve tofu because it has some connections to Buddhism. And so they're just like complaining voraciously about this tofu. And they're like, I want meat, you know, basically. Like it was really cute and enjoyable. So, and I was so surprised that I did not think that that would be RM's vibe, books that are like just cute and enjoyable.
I started to say this feels like very out of character for him.
It really does.
Very.
So maybe I did miss something. I am not sure. It was like, this is too easy. It can't be this easy, can it? But I think grief is something that probably interests him. Any of the really deeper human emotions, I think probably interest him in exploring them. So that it did touch on that quite a bit. What do you think? What's next?
I like Dia's comment. I love that a book on grief is called Kitchen. That's so true. Like when you think about it, that's kind of the place people congregate.
Yes.
Like it, others trying to bring you food so that you don't have to worry about cooking. That's interesting.
Yeah. That is an interesting connection. I didn't really think about that. Because, yeah, it really suggests the theme that food kind of brings people together. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes! I hope that you love it, Tony.
Yep, you can't go wrong, Tony. This is a great one.
Yes.
We've set him up for failure. We've said that this is so good. And he'll say,
it's going to be, yeah. We've said it's our favorite. And oh, goodness. That is so true. And you can testify to that from experience, Dia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you like to go?
Okay, next. I read, this was not a success for me at all, but I read Momo by Michael Ende, which is a middle grade book.
Okay.
It was originally written in German because my favorite of all time, my favorite bias in K-pop is Suho from EXO, and he released a solo album this year that was based on this little book called Momo. And it was an interesting like adaptation of the book. I tried to read the book before he released the album so that I could catch everything that was going on. There's like a concept in this book of like the time lilies and forgetting about time or like time consuming you. And so themes were very interesting, but I don't know. I don't want to slander like a whole age range, but I don't really know that I'm a middle grade reader, if that makes sense. I don't think that, I don't know. It was okay. It was okay. And it seems like a very Suho book. Suho is like very big brain, like let me sit down and write an essay about something. So, and I think an XOL gave him this book at a signing and he decided to read it. And he was like,
That's
wow, this
sweet.
is great. And I'm writing an album. But
wow.
I mean, it was one of my failures of the year, I think I would say. Like I felt okay about it. I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't excited about picking it up.
I felt like you felt like it was really dragging, like taking a long time for you to read it.
Yes, I did. And that's interesting to say about a book that's pretty short.
Middle grade,
And it's written for somebody who's maybe 12 or 13 years old. So that was an interesting one. I read it in the same month as Demian, though, and after Demian, nothing was good. Like
You had a slump.
I spent a long time chasing that high.
Yeah. I bet it does make I love the music video for Suho's album. And I remember you were drawing some connections between that in the book. Because
Yes,
time was very related to it.
there are these evil creatures, like evil men in gray suits, who come and steal time from you.
Gray suit.
And Gray Suit is the name of one of his songs. It's so interesting, like how he adapted it is very interesting.
Yes. We love his imagination here. Okay. Let's check out the comments.
The trend of German literature in K-pop recommendations is insane to me. Yes, the Neverending Story. And I think several idols have recommended that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So German is what, you know, they really love translated literature in general, but it does seem like there's a lot of German recommendations. Oh, that's too bad.
I think I had to order it from the UK. Like,
oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I've had that problem with a lot of book recommendations from K-pop idols, especially I'm like looking for things by ATEEZ right now, and just like nothing that Hongjoon has read or recommended is available here. I'm just like, why not? Please. Yes, K-pop. Welcome. Are you a fan? Okay, K-Fed. Do you know what that is?
Kevin Federline? Britney Spears' ex-husband?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Is that who you're referring to?
I am not sure. Please enlighten us.
That dated me. That aged me, didn't it? Kevin Federline.
Oh. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's go next with Gota's Fast. And I don't remember the exact title. So I'm just going to say Fast.
Yeah.
Gota. RMs. And I found this on RM's bookshelf. There's a library website that just, it lists a bunch of books that were from a bookshelf that he posted on Weverse. And this is one of the books. And so I was already planning on doing... Yes, German, exactly. I wonder if it's something about like the connect, like the... I just feel like German literature is very analytical. Like they're into Young, sorry. Yeah, they're very into Young because they love the MBTI. Like Koreans,
yes.
They know everybody's MBTI. So I think, yeah, anyways, I'm just curious. So Faust is about a man who sells his soul to the devil. Devil themes too.
Yes. RM's an interesting, he likes a theme.
Yes, because he has said that he is an atheist, but I think he probably still finds some meaning, kind of like Jordan Peterson will find meaning in like Christian things, even though he didn't like believe in it like a Christian would. He would still find meaning. That's kind of, I feel like, what RM does as well, maybe. Just thinking. But anyway, so yeah, so this was one of his recommendations. And I wanted to read it for Faustathon, and I read some of it, and I thought it was really deep and interesting and good and beautiful, but it was just, I found it very difficult to read, and there weren't really good audible things that I could have to read along with it because I was struggling with it. So I wasn't able to finish it, but definitely the good and evil theming is there. Interesting and not just like black and white. So yeah.
I felt bad that you were struggling with this one and that you put it down. But then
That
I
took me
started it and I
months.
was like, Christy, you probably made it twice as far as I did before. And it's not that I had to call it quits. Like I was enjoying it, but I felt like I really needed to take notes. And you're right, it didn't feel like there was a lot out there to like help you or aid you.
Mm,
My edition didn't have very good notes.
mm. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people study it in college, so I was surprised that there was not that many. Like, yeah, I just was surprised that it was so difficult to find those kind of supplementary materials. Uh, hey, Pay!
Hi, Pay.
Thanks for coming by. We were just talking about Fossifine.
He heard us.
Yes. Yes, Dia, you did so well with it.
Don't lie.
I don't think he lies. You. Yes.
Yes,
Oh, that's
Tony.
wonderful.
The statue bit, gorgeous, stunning. And then, like, when he cracks, like Narcissus looking in the mirror, like, I, it was really visionary.
Mm-hmm. They are a handsome bunch.
They are, yes, you nailed it.
Yes, that's exactly right. What? There's so much like Greek. There's a lot of Greek mythology in that video. You had sent me a video of somebody breaking down that video and all the references, and she was like, she's, I think, a historian. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating. I feel
They
like their
use
videos are like that.
Narcissus a lot. They use Narcissus a lot, which is so interesting, especially
Yes.
with Jin. And for those of you watching who don't know Jin from BTS, he's a very handsome guy, and that's like his nickname is Worldwide Handsome. And so they always like try to figure him as a Narcissus figure, like they'll put him with a Narcissus flower or make him look into water. It's just gorgeous that they do that, but I wonder if he is insulted by it.
I hope not. I think
not.
he's actually like a humble guy, but as he
Goes with it.
he goes with it, and just that's like his joke that he always pulls out when he's having an introvert moment. He's like, "Yep, I'm worldwide handsome. I was added to BTS solely based on my looks. Thank you very much." All right. Yay! Aren't they everywhere? They really are.
They really are.
No wonder Korea loves them. German literature. Yeah. You know, I've heard that part two goes off the rails a bit, so I don't know if that's true or not. Oh, yes.
Yes, Pay.
Definitely. You should have seen Pei's face when we were talking on Zoom about K-pop. It was like overwhelmed.
He was lost, yes.
Yeah.
You're in the headlights.
Yes. Yes. Really? Interesting. That's heavy reading for the morning.
Yeah.
Yay, friends. Okay, cool. Let's see. Shall we go on to the next?
Okay. Let me look. Okay, my big one, my biggest book that I read this year because of K-pop was Don Quixote. And I read this because the group 17 has a song called Don Quixote, and it was written by 3 of the members who really like to read. But I only remember two people, Wanu and Woozy, wrote it, I think. But I think a 3rd member was interested in it. But the song is about Don Quixote.
Wow.
And it's a really great summer song. And it's funny how they've written it to like reference things, but I had a great time with Don Quixote. I listened to it on audiobook. It was fantastic. Like, I just had the time of my life, and listening to it on audiobook was the way to go.
Yeah, it's long enough, and it's almost like, yeah, it's like a comedic adventure, right?
Yes, it's very funny. And I think that came across in audio. I think Kate Howe had read it on audio earlier, and that convinced me that was the way to go. And
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
Did it enrich the music video? Or was it just a song?
It was just a song.
Just a song. Okay.
And it was like, the song was really neat how they would reference certain moments in the book, and some of them were obscure. Like, they did talk about tilting at windmills, which is the thing everybody knows.
Yes.
But there is like a sad quality to Don Quixote too. But
Yeah.
it like, the song is basically, the world can be wrong and you can still be right. And that's kind of the message of Don Quixote. I just thought the song was really positive and uplifting.
Okay.
And so was the book. The book was kind of like, why bother? Why would you try? But the song was like, you should try. Oh no, you're light. You're light.
It happened. I knew it was gonna happen. I don't know how to avoid this though. Sorry to interrupt you. You can keep going.
I think I said it all. Everyone go listen to Don Quixote by 17 because it will clear your skin and pay your debts. It was a great song.
Was that off of their recent album, or is that an older one? Okay.
It's off their recent album, which is like my favorite album of the year.
Is that the one with Hot on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. That one went super viral.
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes they have like really thoughtful songs though, like on the B-sides and stuff. So it's fun to explore.
And they're an interesting group in that a lot of them are readers, and a lot of them are writers or songwriters. And I think that's interesting. I think it's fun to see. You would think as an artist that you would be interested in other art of a different medium, and they definitely are. I think that's really interesting to see through their music and how they write songs. But this was like the most overt reference to a book that I've seen them do.
That is so interesting because they are known for having a like stronger hand in their work than some groups, some K-pop groups. Writing and do they do choreography and music as well, or mainly writing?
I think they do. Maybe they do.
Okay.
I know Pentagon will choreograph their own stuff.
That is so cool.
Which is really cool. I can't imagine.
No. Being trained to do all those things at such a young age is, I don't know, they're pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The opera of Faust. Yeah, I bet. Where did you watch that, Dia?
I'm writing it down, Pay.
Sweet.
You can become obsessed with J-pop too.
Yeah.
You can't hold us back.
Literally writing it down.
Yeah,
you did. Now, did you listen to it as well on audiobook? So you watched the opera on YouTube. That is cool. I love that that's available. I read some of it in school, and that was kind of what that's also what I felt. It was like, yeah, this is kind of sad. Yeah, like it was kind of pointless. That's how you described it.
But I think when I went into it, having listened to the song where they were like, just be positive, or like keep doing the right thing even when you don't think it's paying off, that made me feel better about the tone of the book, because I thought, well, he's still doing the right thing whether people recognize that or not.
Oh, yeah, that's sweet.
Made it a more like a warm, cozy read for me at the very end. I don't know. I think you would like it, Christy.
Sorry. My phone.
Dance interlude.
Goodness gracious. Well, I actually need to answer that because that's my husband and he knows I'm live, so it must be important. Would you mind talking about your next book and I'll be right back?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Take over.
All right. Okay, y'all. My next book that I read because of K-pop, I read The Devotion of Suspect X by Kaigo Higashino, which is a Japanese thriller. And I read this because Kai from EXO had recommended it. And this is one of my biggest successes of the year. I feel like this was wild and it was just me stepping out of my comfort zone because I'm not really a big mystery thriller reader, but I read this, and this is one of the few books recommended by idols I've seen that is not really a literary book or even a classic. This just felt like a book that Kai probably read for fun, which I think made me enjoy it more because all the time I'm not in the mood for something very literary or philosophical or very dense. And so this one was just really fun and it was very shocking. This was very, very shocking to me. And I really didn't know where it was going because the setup was so interesting. It's interesting to read a mystery where you essentially know who did the crime, who committed the crime, and why. And this book worked with that knowledge. You, as the reader, knew who did it and why. And you also followed the police as they tried to figure it out. And I just really enjoyed that. I thought that was really fun and different. Yes, Dia, me not in the mood for something philosophical. I needed a break over the summer, and this one really came in. But I feel like there were philosophical elements to it, even for a mystery novel, weirdly enough. So I really enjoyed that. Okay. Pei, you missed how Don Quixote is related to K-pop. Okay, there's a group called 17, and they have a song called Don Quixote, and 3 of the members wrote it. And they really enjoyed the book. And so they went with like a theme of like the world is wrong, but you can still be right. And I will send you the song on Instagram. Please listen to it. It's very, very good. Sorry, Dia. The name of the one I just talked about is The Devotion of Suspect X.
Yes, sorry, I will write it out.
And the author's name is Kaigo Higashino, which is difficult to spell his first name. His first name is. I might be mispronouncing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to copy and paste. Okay. And we're going without capitals. Sorry. There we go.
You nailed it. That is his name.
Perfect.
Yes, it was really, really good. I did not see this coming. I don't know if you're much of a mystery reader, Christy.
Kind of depends.
Take a chance and read this because I would really be interested in your opinion.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The ending was so good. I was actually kind of moved by it. The whole time I'm wondering, this is Kai's favorite book of all time. And I was wondering like why a mystery would be someone's all-time favorite book. And when I reached the end, I understood.
It made sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I will check that out. I want to dive deeper into the EXO brain space anyways. You not what were you looking at? Which comment?
I think you'll see it.
Oh no. We have a bot again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, what?
This person kept doing this yesterday on my live stream as well. Oh, did somebody report her? Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you. Yes.
I don't know what it. I thought of so I need to like figure out how to block this person permanently. Okay. Now I'm sure I missed some things. I'm gonna go back up here. Okay. Yes, excellent. I'm so impressed that you have your whole 2023 already planned out, Tony.
Me too. I barely have next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, in fact, dropped my plans for the next 3 months. So I don't know this week. Yes, I'm interested in
I
the
am too.
difference. And C-pop. Because I do love some C-rap. Some
Yes.
Lazing.
Yes.
He's
And I
incredible.
love wavy.
Yes.
The K-pop, but I love anybody when they're singing in Mandarin.
Yes.
Like, it's just a gorgeous language to hear.
It really is. No. Okay. You did both. Okay, interesting. I do that too. I read and listen. I know not I feel like they're not everybody likes to do both. Some people like to like stick with one or the other, but I like
It
to
helps me to remember things with like really long classics. I think it's very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Let's see. Sounds like I might like it.
I think you might be. It's just different. Are
we talking about Momo? Or the Devotion of Suspect X?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's one of the joys of this year to me, and reading K-pop recommendations is I don't think I'd ever read any Japanese literature before, but I truly enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what I've seen, I really enjoy. And that was like my highest point with it, I think. So I'm very curious to try more from Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you tried some other things that were Japanese as well. Maybe we should talk about.
Yes.
Is it Q-Teen84? I've heard Alana say it like that. So this one we both read around the same time, and I had like a huge problem with it, which is obviously his writing towards women. It was just not great. I don't know. So that was a major downer for the book, but this was recommended by RM. And I'm really glad that I ended up reading it though, because I've heard that his short stories are less. There's less writing about women in his short stories, was what I had heard. And I really loved everything else about the book. Like, I found it so gripping, and it had like this atmosphere of mystery around it that just made it really, really fun for me. I enjoyed listening to it, and it was so long, and it's kind of rare for me to really connect with a long book nowadays, but I loved listening to it on audiobook. So I looked forward to it, you know?
So, and I DNF'd it.
Yeah. I know it. So did you have the same problem as me with his writing about women?
I did. Although weirdly, I felt like the main female character was the strongest character.
Yeah.
It was the strongest characterization of the entire book. But it was just, I don't know. I feel like I got to the point where I felt like it was tedious and repetitive, and that's why I set it down. I didn't intentionally DNF it. It's like I just set it down one day and never picked it back up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Interesting.
Dia nails it. He does talk a lot about breasts.
Yeah, he sure does.
A lot.
And the
I
way
just
he
remember she
wrote,
put on like hose or something, like pantyhose or something, and like climbed over a fence. And he talked about how they ripped and how she was going to have to take off her. I said, dude, this is not the
yeah,
first thing on her mind, but okay.
yeah, he wrote her kind of like a guy to
Yeah,
me. She didn't really seem particularly female, other
that's
than her
true.
body,
That's
which he
true.
really enjoyed describing in detail frequently. Um, let's see here.
And maybe that's why we liked her. Maybe he wrote her as a man originally.
Maybe so. And then saw the accusations of misogyny and thought, I'm going to turn this guy into a girl. All right. Cool. So Dia wrote down the devotion of suspect X.
I hope you like it, Dia.
Yes, and we hope Pei likes
And Pei is about to
Don
get
Quixote.
sent a song in his Instagram. He's like, what's happening? Good vibes, positivity.
Yes. It can offset your depressing reading, Pei. Okay. Interesting. Yes. Cool. We are getting recommendations back and forth here. This is great. All right. Kubrickathon. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you are creating Kubrickathon. I see. That's exciting.
That's neat, yeah.
Yes. Is this your first athon? Mm-hmm.
Dia, I have to agree with you in terms of Korean lit. I've tried a lot this year in terms just for this project, like just reading things that K-pop idols have recommended, and nothing has been something that I said, wow, that's a 5-star. I've not had a 5-star read that was originally written in Korean. So I'm searching for that. I know it's out there.
I almost feel like their publishing industry is still like finding its footing. And
Yeah.
not all of it is getting like there's so much that isn't getting translated.
I think that's the real kicker, because I wonder a lot about their genre fiction, because I love so much like their genre adaptations of like webtoons and stuff like that for K-dramas. And I think that what they do in fantasy is really interesting, or in sci-fi, but I've not seen anything that was a straightforward novel that's been translated that's either fantasy or sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually like more literary styling.
Mm-hmm.
Or thriller.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that. Interesting. I liked the way he thought other than that. So I think I would really enjoy some of his other stuff. Well, you could enjoy your depressing reading and some upbeat K-pop.
Yes. And Pei, I hate to do this because this has nothing to do with K-pop, but I thought in terms of depressing reading, you would love The Last Letters of Jacopo Ortis by Ugo Foscolo. You would love it if you've not read it. Now we can get back to K-pop, but talking about depressing reading, like that's the most depressing book. Very, very Goethe, very Sorrows of Young Werther. Like, you needed to cry, read it.
That sounds like a good recommendation for him. Korean is weird and depressing.
Yes. Please Look After Mom is one that I read also this year. And I know that you had read it earlier, Christy.
Mm-hmm.
I was so depressed after reading that.
Oh,
That I mean, like how it ended, it was actually quite brilliant when you think about it. Like
yeah.
it was really a brilliant ending, but oh my gosh, it was just so heavy to read. I wasn't inspired to pick it up because I was so like knowing that the book was going to get more depressing.
hmm it's like so full of regret. That's really the emotion that it creates is regret. And I think RM recommended it as like something that could help you appreciate your mother more. I was like, well, it definitely does that. The poor mom character in that book.
Yes.
Kubrickathon. We're going to watch one Kubrick film each month on the first of the month. Ones that are based on books. That sounds really cool. So is this going to be like a month's long reading? Reading long? Readathon? That is cool. Yes.
Yeah, it's your type of thing. 100%. Beautifully written.
Really? I heard something about that. Did you tell me about that, Nia? Yeah, plagiarism.
Plagiarism.
Wow.
That kind of rings a bell. It seems like I heard that.
Yeah, I think I have two. That's really sad because I thought it was really well done. 1 month for a year. Wow. So it's like a project. That is so cool. Do you want to go next?
Okay.
All right.
It's so many. My most recent read because of Kpop is another of my favorite books of the year. Actually, probably three of my favorite books of the year because I think The Devotion of Suspect X is up there, and Demian is Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bastareka. This was recommended by Kevin from The Boys, and this is a dystopian where in the future animals have essentially contracted a virus, which means we can no longer eat meat. But the government says you also can't rely on vegetables for your full protein base or just your full eating. And so we have progressed in that society to eating human meat. And there is like an entire cannibalism industry, let's say. And the main character is somebody who works at one of these plants, like works for a slaughterhouse. It was genuinely some of the most fascinating reading I really, I hate to say I enjoyed it because it was very horrific, but I did really enjoy it. And I think Chrissy knows this about me. I don't really eat meat. I'm basically vegetarian, but I think had I been a big consumer of something like beef, the book really would have bothered me because they compared this pretty directly to the beef industry and cattle farming and like how certain people could be bred for certain types of meat and they wouldn't educate you or what. I mean, it was wild. And then people trying to procreate like with meat, with human meat. It was just wild. It was a very interesting book. Yeah, Dia, you'd be vegan after reading that too. I like it. I think it was just an interesting book because it did critique the meat industry, our current meat industry, by making us analyze like animals on a human level. But it also made you as the reader analyze how we treat other people as animals.
Wow.
And I just thought it was very deep and introspective and not too heavy handed with its imagery, but it was extremely disturbing. And if you're kind of squeamish, might not be the book for you.
And I know you were surprised that Jacob recommended it because of his personality in other books that he's recommended.
This boy is like the sweetest, kindest person on the planet. And his favorite book of all time, I think, is The Shack, which is like this Christian, which is a big classic of Christian fiction or something.
Yeah.
And he just seems like not the type to have been into this. But since I read this, he has now recommended 2 or 3 Stephen King books. So
Ah,
maybe he's just in his horror era.
yeah. There's
But this,
often two sides to K-pop singers. Then they will show that in their videos frequently.
yes.
The aegyo side and then the darker side. Wow, that is so interesting. I need to look this up.
I do too.
Okay. I'm so curious about this one because I know I've heard about it on BookTube as well. It might be a little bit too weird for me.
It
But I
might
don't
be.
know.
But I like a dystopia. I like to see different versions of what the world would look like if it ended, so to speak. And
Mhm.
this one was really just very socially and politically relevant to me today. I thought it was just very, very interesting. It's the best dystopia I've read since The Hunger Games.
Have you read the one by Upton Sinclair? Is that his name? The
The Jungle?
The Jungle. Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to read that.
That's what it makes me think of when you describe Tender as the Flesh. Except there was no cannibalism in that one. That one was more directly about the meat industry. Okay. Let's go with The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot.
Ooh,
Have you read that?
no. That was
Okay.
one that was on my TBR because of this, and I'm so excited that you got to it.
Yeah. Oops. So this one was on RM's reading book list, so he owns it. Oh, bookshelf. Sorry. I should have typed these out ahead of time. Oh well. Okay. So this was a long poem with several parts, and it's kind of like free verse, I would say. And it's really kind of him complaining about different parts of life. That's what it sounds like. The author is talking about his old age, and I don't know how old he was when he wrote this, but it just really sounded like he was grumbling, and it was just like such a mood. Like I tried really analyzing it, like the first 2 parts of it, and because there's all kinds of references to like literature and stuff in there, but I just kind of came to the conclusion that it's more supposed to be felt than interpreted. But a lot of people have tried to interpret it. I just think that it's more about the feeling in this case. So, and I feel like it's so RM to really get inside someone's head like this and see it from their perspective. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Of all the poets for him to be into, T.S. Eliot makes the most sense to me.
Oh yeah.
I feel like RM, like in a different life, I feel like he could be a beatnik.
Yeah.
And I feel like they probably, like beatniks, really enjoyed T.S. Eliot. But I
Yeah.
feel like this definitely feels like an iconic RM recommendation.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say so. I think he probably would have understood a lot of the references that I didn't because he's so into art. So I think he knows about that stuff.
So it's in free verse.
I think so. Is that, or maybe blank verse? I don't
Blank
know. There
verse.
wasn't really any rhythm or rhyme at all. Like there was frequent times where it was just like a word, you know.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Of course it is. See, I think you and RM are on a similar brainwave.
I started to say Pei doesn't know it, but he and RM have the same book tastes.
Yes. I think if you read like RM, you would enjoy it.
Yes.
Because you'd just be reading like you. And you probably understood a lot of the references too. Okay, Jenny, would you like to go?
Okay. I reread Animal Farm, high on Tender as the Flesh, but also because a Korean solo artist called BB just released a song and a music video called Animal Farm. And in the music video, it's very Kill Bill. It's like partially Kill Bill, but partially an adaptation of Animal Farm, where three men are dressed as pigs who she kills with a samurai sword. It's kind of iconic behavior. But the song is really an interesting take on Animal Farm. Animal Farm used to be my favorite classic. And on reread, it's fallen just a little bit, just because I think I felt like the allegory was not too heavy-handed. I thought the allegory was really good, but it's like that was the whole point of the book. It wasn't to tell an interesting story while also telling an allegory. The book is just the allegory, and I think that worked well for me at a young age. And now I wanted something a little bit more complicated from it.
Mm-hmm.
I know you just picked this up, and I'm
Yes.
so excited for you to read it.
Yes, it
The
is
quotes.
next on my Kpop TBR.
The quotes are so good.
Oh,
The last line, honestly, like the book deserves 5 stars for the last line.
wow.
Mm-hmm. George Orwell was a really smart and intelligent guy, and he lived a very interesting life. And Animal Farm is interesting in many different ways. I don't know. Maybe people who are watching this don't know, but it's an allegory for the Russian Revolution. And so it's about pigs and other animals on a farm running the farmer off the farm, or the czar off the throne. And each of the pigs stands in for like Lenin and Trotsky. It's very,
So
very interesting. But other animals represent like an entire class of people in Russia at the time.
Mm.
It's very interesting. And he was writing this during World War II. So it's also like partially commenting on the war. There are many different layers to Animal Farm, and BB gets into them in her song and her music video.
That is really fun that she explores. I feel like that book is gonna take me on a ride. Like, I need to be ready for it. I'm like researching all about George Orwell, and we were talking about this on the live on your channel this month.
Mm-hmm.
That he like went to fight in other wars when he like there was it the Spanish American War?
The Civil War.
Yeah, he like went to fight for that because he believed in the cause and was almost killed because of his political allegiances at the time. So it was just like, wow. He is just an interesting person. So reading his work, I want to do that for sure. Reading more of it, rather, because I love 1984. It's like a great book. Yes, I'm excited about that.
And it's a combo that works, weirdly enough. But BB could come out and read the dictionary, and I would say this is a performance that should win a Grammy. So she's a very interesting artist.
Yeah, she's very different from a lot of K-pop artists. I feel like the longer K-pop is a thing, the more individuality that's coming into the different groups and music.
Yes.
They're not just chasing trends, they're actually creating them. Hello, Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
Yay, thanks for watching. Okay, let's go. Oh, you talked about Please Look After Mom a little bit. So I
Yes,
also read that.
Tell your whole thoughts. Because I know you really liked this, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So this one is another one that's big because RM recommended it. And I feel like a lot of people read it for that reason. And a lot of people did not like it. I feel like I felt like I was the only one who was reading it and being like, wow, this is amazing. Like, so it's following a mother who is she's just working really hard to take care of her family, and nobody is really appreciating her. But you see from the children's point of view as they remember things that their mother did for them growing up. So the very beginning of the novel has their mother being lost. She's lost in a crowded train station, and nobody can find her. And so the children are trying to find her, and they're very concerned. So they're looking back on their memories of their mother. And that's where all the regret is coming from. And I just thought it was so emotionally resonant. And I did not, the picture of poverty in this book was just so well drawn, and it seemed like so personal. And I was just amazed. I've never read anything like it. I thought it was really, really good. But it was a little bit strange because I went into it and like the premise of the book is kind of sold as a thriller. And it was not a thriller at all. It was like very literary. So I went in with the total wrong expectations, but ended up loving it probably more than I would have if it was a thriller. So it's kind of a bummer though about the accusations against it because it was so good. So I wonder, did somebody else write this? Like, I need to look into the plagiarism. Whoever wrote it, they did a great job. Yeah, she did. She said it made her cry.
It did me
as
too.
a mother. Yeah. So yeah. So it was a bummer that you didn't really connect with it though, yeah.
Yeah, it was I feel like to me, sometimes I feel like this with books that have been translated. I felt like I was reading a book that wasn't a great translation. I felt like it was keeping me at arm's distance from everything. And sometimes I feel that way with books that have been translated. But it's unfortunate with more modern books that have been translated, there's only one translation. Classics, I can say, oh, I didn't like this translation and pick up another one.
Yes.
But this is the only translation we have. But I felt like I was reading a clunky translation. And maybe I wasn't. Maybe that's just how the book was written.
It's hard. It's really hard to tell without seeing the original language. Because like I always feel like this about Korean names. Like when they're spelled out in romanization, it's like hard to pronounce and hard to say. And it's just not easy visually on the eyes. But when I see it in Korean, the way the letters go together and are stacked and the sounds go together, like it makes sense. So it flows so much better when I actually see it in the Korean alphabet. So I can't imagine that books would be any different. I'm sure it's very similar. Only parts of it. Okay.
I'm reading the book now, and the like there's a quote at the top of each chapter, and the top of this chapter was like traditore, which is betrayal or traitor. You're a traitor in Italian, and the gist of like the whole quote is to translate is to commit an act of betrayal to the original work.
Oh.
And I think that's very interesting, and it makes me question how much we lose in translation.
I think it's a lot.
Yeah. Especially
because
with a language that doesn't have an automatic equivalent in English.
Yes.
I think probably when they translate Korean, they translate the gist.
Yeah. I've heard people say that about BTS songs in particular, that there's so many layers to it that you just don't get if you're looking up English translations and stuff. Like I'm sure the rap portions, which are usually written by the rappers. I just feel like, oh, there's so much going on here. I can hear it, but I'm not advanced enough in my Korean to really make any sense of it. Yeah. But that's why we're partly studying languages, right?
Right.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's too bad. We should talk. Okay. So I had a similar problem, though, with reading modern Korean stuff. Let me think. I read Lemon by Kwan Yo Kwan Yo Soon.
on my TBR.
And that's interesting that it's on your TBR. I wonder what you would think of it. You might like it more than I did. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think that her like deeper theme really worked for me.
That's interesting.
But I'm very curious what you think. So I read that and I was just like, 3.5 stars. And The Disaster Tourist by Yoon Koon, which I thought that was a cool concept, but should have been like much shorter.
I remember when you read that, you had some interesting opinions. Yeah. Some conflicting opinions.
Yes. Yeah. I just felt like the characters were not anything interesting or special. It was really more about the idea, and it didn't need to be a book about characters. It could have just been a short story or an essay. Really, I felt like it needed to be an essay on environmental responsibility and ecotourism and stuff like that. It just didn't work as a story very well because I did not care about the characters.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So I read those two, I think maybe. I read those two and I started thinking, I don't think Korean literature is really for me. And then I DNF'd Pachinko. And I was just like, really like, I am on a roll. I do not like Korean literature. And then thankfully there was Please Look After Mom, and then another book that RM recommended that I loved. So I'm coming back around a little bit.
Oh, Pachinko. Oh, gosh. I'm having war flashbacks thinking about Pachinko.
I just couldn't get over the guy character. I don't even remember what his name was, but I hated him so much.
And almost made me hate Lee Min-ho, who's like my favorite Korean actor, because he was going to play him in the TV show. And I said, I can't watch it because I don't want to see him play that role.
Yes. We don't want this character to become sympathetic through his portrayal.
Right.
He's not sympathetic at all.
No.
But Alana didn't mind him. She was like, he's just complex. I was like,
he was easily the most interesting person in the book, which is a sad thing to say. But yeah, Pachinko, I that's one that I didn't understand either. I really did not get it. Why that one
took off.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. It does explore the relationship between Japan and Korea in such an interesting way.
It does. That was fascinating, and I learned a lot from that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should have changed this. Well, this was books that I was reading mainly because of my general interest in Korea was piqued. So I didn't really list them out, all of them. But yeah. Were there other books that you just read just like generally because of your interest in Korea?
Kim Ji-young, born 1982, is like a Korean classic now of feminist literature. Mm-hmm. And I had a similar issue with it that you had with The Disaster Tourist, in that I feel like this book could have been stronger as just an essay, but the point... Did you read Kim Ji-young?
Not yet, no.
But the point of it is that, like, it's about this one millennial South Korean woman, but how her life and her experiences are the same as basically every millennial woman, even not in South Korea. Mm-hmm. And I thought the book was interesting because the author backed up everything that she said by including links to articles and just
Wow.
showing like her bibliographic evidence on the page. She would put a footnote in like saying,
In a novel.
yes, women can't have their own bank accounts. They couldn't have their own bank accounts in South Korea until something like, I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s. And she quoted it on the bottom, like,
Wow.
this is when it happened. And so I thought it was interesting, but I think the facts were more interesting than the novel.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure she made it a novel so that it was easier for people to grasp, or like you could see it from a certain character's perspective. But if you are a woman, you have experienced a lot of what's in the book. But
Mm-hmm.
the instances of South Korea's specific sexism were what was really fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm. And I know this has been recommended by at least one female idol, and I think she
Yeah.
got really criticized for it.
Yes, I think it was Irene from Red
Okay, from
Velvet.
Red Velvet.
But I think Jisoo from Blackpink has also recommended
Yeah,
this.
she reads a lot of
RM.
feminist stuff.
Hmm.
Oh, and RM too?
I think RM. I think several guy idols actually have recommended this, which is
Wow.
really impressive.
Yeah. That is so interesting. I feel like K-dramas frequently explore that topic. So it would be interesting to see it with the bibliography. I'll list it out. All right. Yeah, I'm sure. Because you said that they don't even want American soldiers there, right? They're tired of being invaded. They've constantly been invaded.
Who can
It's
blame
just,
them?
yeah. Yeah. You should probably, get out and let them do their thing. 100 Shadows. Okay, interesting.
See?
Yes. Excellent. Thank you for hanging out for a while, Pei.
Yes. It's really interesting that I feel like I see it more in K-pop than I do. Well, there's a reason that I'm more interested in what's going on in Eastern music, and just in terms of, in general, what's going on over there in terms of media. I'm just more interested in what's going on in Japan, China, and Korea right now in
Yes.
media and
Mm-hmm.
music, because I feel like there's a lot of overlap with art. There's a lot of thematic interest for me. And there's a lot of truly basing your songs on literature. There's just a lot of conversation about art that artists are having through their music. It's very interesting, the dialogue that's occurring. I feel like I connect more with their music and just like film and television, because thematically they are doing such interesting things.
Yeah. They're like pioneering in pop culture things specifically, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Much more so than the US, in my opinion.
Yes, here it feels like here in the West we're beating a dead horse.
Yeah, I think we're in a rut.
But we're used to it, and we're used to our style of storytelling. And now in the 21st century, we have access to so many different things. And now we're getting to see how other countries tell stories. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, really
and it's
exciting.
so different. Yeah. Because they're informed by entirely different things. You know, like being informed by Confucianism, you will get a very different result than informed by Protestantism, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or Catholicism, you know, depending on which. Different countries just have different flavors to their work, I think. And
Yes.
you will find a very different flavor in Eastern countries than here. Yeah.
But as usual, we can't mind our business.
Yeah. We're sorry on behalf of the Korean army, Korean military, which has just inducted Jin. Did you see Jin with the buzz cut?
Yes.
How could you miss it? Probably. It's been everywhere.
Yes, I think my local news station posted an article about Jin going into the Korean military.
Of course. Everybody knows and cares. Wow, that is so cool. Yeah, I've seen interviews and stuff with people and people who talk about the racism as well. And, they're often like, I've been here several years and maybe experienced it once or twice. So I think it does happen, but it happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we can't look too badly. We can't look too badly on them for that. But they are also just developing really as a free nation. They were not free they have not been as a free, nation or even a capitalistic nation for very long. Because they were under very controlling rulers, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So they're figuring stuff out, and it's going to take them time. We're still figuring stuff out. Oh, hi, John.
Hi, John.
All right. Cool. Okay. Boy, we are going on for a while. I don't know how long you have tonight.
I'm good. I feel like I reached the end of my list.
Okay. You read a lot this year. Didn't
I
you
did.
read? Let's see. Yeah, you talked about Jacob and Kai. Didn't you read one from one of the NCT boys, Jaehyun?
I did. I listened to Guns, Germs, and Steel
Ah.
because Jaehyun recommended it,
Mm.
and that was interesting.
Mm.
That was really interesting, and I feel like I shouldn't have listened to it. I needed to have read that book to really catch everything that it was saying. I know that's on your TBR.
Yes.
I'll be interested to know what you think of it. I think you would really like it.
Yeah, I made the same mistake and listened to some of it in the past. But I just stopped listening because I was like, I need to actually read this. Like, I want to remember what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay. Yeah, I think we've covered almost everything here. I know I've seen okay, maybe we should talk about but I did want to mention as well Familiar Things by Hwang Suk-young, which was one that RM recommend, or it was on his bookshelf, and so I got it off of the library website. And this was really my favorite Korean work that I have read so far. I was really blown away by it, and it's really about. I think there's a lot of political commentary happening in this that I probably just didn't get because I don't know the leaders at the time. I don't really know even Korea's modern history. I'm not very familiar with, but this was set in the 80s, and at the time the government was taking men off of the street and putting them into like Reformation type camps. And so it's following the family whose father was taken in by the government, and the family didn't even know what happened to him for a while. Like the mother and son were just like, where did he go? And they finally were told that he was in a camp under the government. And so they couldn't make it though without his financial support. So they ended up going to live at the dump. And there's a whole society that has built up around life at the dump. And it's like so unhealthy. Like it's a very environmental book. And it was really sad seeing these people who just weren't cared for at all and couldn't make it, even though they were trying really hard, and kind of the life they had to adopt in the dump and how unhealthy it was. Yeah. Another really sad, heartbreaking, also weird kind of book. But I really enjoyed this one.
When you described it in your RM vlog, I knew it would be sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. Yeah. But it really, really good. So I definitely want to read more things that RM recommends that are Korean, because both times when I went outside of RM's recommendations and read Korean works, I didn't really like them that much. They're okay. And I loved Who's After Mom as well. So I think he was maybe a safe place to go for recommendations in Korean lit. For me. So, okay. So briefly, before we finish up here, we wanted to also talk about things that we're planning to read in 2023. And I should also look at the comments. Ooh, that's a great question.
It is.
I feel like I'm still too new to really recommend a Korean book. Are you looking for like a history book? Or yeah, what are you looking for? I probably don't really have any recommendations, unfortunately. Do you?
My knee-jerk reaction was thinking that you were asking for a history book, and I thought of the book that we gave each other for Christmas last year. But
Yeah.
there was something very dense about that.
Yeah.
That meant to me that didn't feel very approachable, maybe. It didn't feel like a great beginner's book. But
Yeah.
that's where I began.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you began, and it worked out for us. And it was just called A History of Korea.
Yeah. I think that one's I'll try and find the title, because I think it's like well written. It's just, it feels like it skips a lot. It just skips over a lot and expects that you understand what's being skipped in favor of the specific things he wants to talk about.
Yep.
And it's not exactly easy to read, but it is interesting. And I think it does cover a lot. And I feel like you can get a feel for various periods in Korean history. It's just not like a traditional history book. So here it is, the book.
Yes.
So hopefully that helps. Yay. Yeah, cool. So you actually read the whole thing. Impressive. So what is on your K-pop TBR next, Jenny? Bye, dear. Sorry.
Bye, dear.
Bye.
This
Loved hanging out too.
we did. We had fun.
Yes.
One that's on my TBR is one that was on my TBR earlier this year, and I, for some odd reason, didn't get to it. But it's Plato's Republic. because Taemin, one of my favorite idols, has a couple of music videos that are based specifically on ideas from the Republic. And I've heard theories that his first two solo albums are also based on Plato's Republic. I thought that he had based this on Dante, and a Korean subscriber of mine told me no, he's referring to Plato's Republic.
Wow.
So it's very interesting.
We love his music.
Idea. Yeah.
That really makes me want to read it. I forgot about that. You had talked about that previously. Yeah, I want to read that too. Okay, I'm adding that to my TBR.
It seems so dense. I think I attempted to get into it, and the introduction was like 50 pages. And I said, do I need this introduction? And then I started reading the actual text, and I said, yeah,
I do.
I'm going to need that introduction.
Yikes. I feel like when you really get into a book, you can do it. Like, you actually make a lot of progress on it. So I have confidence in you. I
We
don't
will
have confidence in me at the moment. I'm not sure I'll be starting that anytime soon. But
You never
hopefully.
know.
Yeah, you
After
really
you,
do never know.
after you go through your George Orwell obsession,
Yes.
what's next but Play-Doh?
Unpredictable. Or predictable if you like K-pop. We're pretty predictable.
Yeah.
Hey, you're still here?
We will make a K-pop stan of you yet.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So that's a great place to stop, I think, actually, because our TBRs are out there now. Next for me is George Orwell Deep Dive, and for you, maybe Plato's Republic.
Yes.
I
Have you
might.
found anything for ATs? I know that you've been looking, and I would love to know something that they have recommended.
Well, Mingi really loves a particular manga author. Um, so I'm gonna try her out or him. I don't even know. I've been like doing late night searches, like trying to find them. So the one that's available to me is called "I Want to Eat Your Pancreas" by Yoru Sumino. Have you
Okay.
heard of that one?
And I knew he had recommended that. I know he likes that author.
Yes. There's two other ones by the same author that he liked. So, and then Hongjung has recommended there's like four things that I found online. Pictures of him reading that he recommended these books, and literally none of them were available. But for some of them, other works by those authors are available. So he recommended, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's like Papillon? Papillon?
Papillon?
Papillon. Thank you. Yes.
That is so interesting that he likes that. Okay.
So you know this book.
Yeah, if it is a book that a film was based on,
Yeah, it's
like,
supposed to be based on like a very popular French classic.
okay, I do know. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm going
very
to try and read something else by that author because I could not even find an English copy, at least through my things that are available to me.
Kai from EXO recommends this French author, and I know his name starts with Bernard. I don't know what his last name is, but he's like a French sci-fi or fantasy author,
Ooh.
and I also can't find anything in
Maybe
English.
is it Bernard Werber? Do you
Yes.
know? Okay, maybe he's
Yes.
not a classic author. Maybe he's just a well-known because this the same guy. So
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so Korean idols just love this man.
Yeah,
Wonder what it
apparently.
is.
So he's a sci-fi author. I literally couldn't even get that. Maybe looking late at night was my problem. So I have a couple authors too, maybe to try by recommended by Hong Jun. So we'll see what ends up happening. And if you find anything that they have read, please send it to me.
I will. I keep a list going of all the K-pop recommendations that I've ever seen an idol recommend.
Wow. Okay.
So
That's excellent.
the list will hopefully be never ending.
Yes. Now that we can get private texts from K-pop artists, now that we can get texts from K-pop artists, I'm hoping they will talk about what they are reading.
What a
there.
thing to ask. I'm going to ask that the next time that I
I
get
always ask FOMO. But that would be a good idea to ask Jacob. Wait, because you have Jacob, right?
I have Jacob, yeah.
Excellent. I almost forgot we were still live, but okay.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
We get on the Universe app and we text these idols.
Yeah.
That's my shame.
We spend money for this. Yes. Hi, Tiffany. We're just leaving. I'm sorry. Thanks for coming, though. All right. Well, that is it. Let us know if you have read anything by idols or recommended by idols, or if you're just getting them from other sources that are like Korean related, K-pop related. Let us know. We'd like to hear about it.
You would.
Yes. And thanks for joining us tonight. That was so fun. And if you made it this far on the replay, you are awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.